I just went to a job to give an estimate to fix the most amount of code violations I've ever seen in a job ever. All right, so this is a property that's got some acreage and there's several buildings, eras of construction. This is out in boondocks in Texas somewhere. There's not a lot of like AHJ oversight. So I think this is a lot of like grandfathered in old, just making it work. And you can tell it's probably not an electrician that did most of the work. I think they did a lot of it themselves. There's weird stuff too. So I'm gonna do more videos because this is chocked full of things that I can talk about with code. Now, I'm being asked to put together an estimate for this. And I already know that I don't want to do the job because it's just because of the cost of the property that's being sold. I know it's probably like 800, 900,000. It's not in a threshold where they're going to want to spend like 50 grand to do this. So the amount of time that I'm going to spend putting an estimate together needs to be pretty small because I'm going to give them a really hiked up number in hopes that I don't get it. But I don't want to be rude and just be like, nah, I don't want to do it. Anyways, the speed and efficiency with which I want to give an estimate on this, I need to use something that is a good software. So I use Jobber. Any of you guys have seen my videos before, I talk about it all the time. Like Jobber is a way for you to take this and run your entire business. All of the businessy kind of things, Jobber helps you with it. Anything that pertains to like collecting receipts for a job costing to figure out, how much time am I and all of my people at what their hourly rates are spending on a job to see if I'm actually gonna be profiting from this. All the materials that I spend, am I spending too much on materials or the right amount of materials? Am I sticking to the estimate that I put forward? It automatically does all of that for you. It takes all of the businessy stuff that's like obstacles out of the way. So I'm going to use Jobber for this. Now, back to the job at hand here. What I wanted to talk about was there is this outdoor mechanical room, we'll call it. It's just a little closet that they stuck a furnace in, they stuck a water heater in, and then there's a new Schneider Electric Square D QO panel that was added obviously like in recent years because it's brand new and everything else on this property is decades, half a century old. So what I wanted to talk about is the placement and the height of this panel. This is wild. Like there's a lot of things in this room that I could talk a whole bunch about, but the thing that really stuck out to me is how does somebody decide that like, we're gonna locate this panel behind a whole bunch of stuff so that if we ever need to get in and work on it, we've got to like climb over things and get on top of stuff to work on it. Mind you, metal things. So if you're working in a live situation for some reason and you couldn't turn things off, which you should always turn things off 95% of the time, you can always turn things off. That's the way you should do stuff. What they did is I guarantee they just had some wires in walls and they just like slapped this thing up. Probably wasn't an electrician, or if it was some backwoods electrician that's just flying under the radar and not really doing stuff to code. They're just kind of getting by without having to do permits. Again, this entire job seems to be that. So what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about code. So any of you that are studying for an exam or just you plan on being an electrician for a long time, there's some codes in the book that you just need to know. You just have to know where certain things are because you're going to use them a lot, but also there's a high probability that every test for every license is going to dig a little bit in these areas. You need to know 110.26 specifically, and that's what we're going to cover. So I'm in the 2023 National Electrical Code, and I'm going to 110.26. Specifically, A talks about working space. So what kind of working space do we have to have around electrical equipment? Working space for equipment operating at 1,000 volts nominal or less to ground and likely to require examination, adjustment, servicing, or maintenance while energized shall comply with the dimensions of 110.26 A1, A2, A3, A4, or as required or permitted elsewhere in the code. So there is a certain dimension of space that we need to have in front of these panels. The first thing we look at is the depth. Then we look at the width, then we look at the height. So for depth of working space, how deep in front of this equipment do we have to have clear so that a person can stand there and legitimately work on something without there being a hazard? It says the depth of working space in the direction of live parts shall not be less than specified in table 110.26A1 unless the requirements of A1A, A1B, or an A1C are met. You can look at these three situations where like you have a little bit of room, a little bit of wiggle room. So on the left, we've got different nominal voltages, 0 to 150 volts from line to ground. So it's voltage from whatever your hot is to ground, right? So in most of us in a house, we're dealing with 240, 120. So 120 is hot to ground. So that's gonna be the row that we're in for everything. If you're in a 480 volt environment and you've got 277 between A phase and ground, then you would move up. And it's kind of moving up in danger because there's higher energy levels at higher voltages that can expend more energy during a short or a fault. So if we look in the first column in our situation, there's condition 1 that says 3 feet, condition 2, 3 feet, condition 3, 3 feet. Doesn't really matter what the conditions are because it's 3 feet regardless, right? So we have to have 3 feet of depth. But what I always tell people when you're studying code, or just being a professional out in code, always look at the notes under the tables. Every single table that is in this book, look at the notes, because you will often miss things that you didn't realize. This applies to me, and this changes what I have to do with this table. It happens all the time. So always pay attention to the notes. Condition 1 is exposed live parts on one side of the working space, and there's no live or grounded parts on the other side of the working space. Or there's exposed live parts on both sides of the working space that are effectively guarded by some kind of insulating material, so it's really not live on both sides, or not conductive on both sides. That's the lowest energy condition, right? If there's a blowback or something and you fall into like wood, that's the safest of the conditions. Condition 2, exposed live parts on one side of the working space and grounded parts on the other side of the working space. Concrete, brick, or tile walls shall be considered as grounded, because we often put rebar and we ground our slab. Most of the time in new construction this is done. So that is a conductive environment. So it's not necessarily like there's another live thing behind you, like another energized system, but there is an energized system in front of you and something conductive that you could complete a circuit through. That's much more dangerous. And then condition 3 is exposed live parts on both sides of the working space. So you've got an energized system here, you fall back from one, hit the other. You're like, that's a way, way, way more dangerous situation. So that's what all of these different depths are. So in our case, we need to have 3 feet of distance from the actual live parts of that panel, not from the front of the equipment, but from the actual live parts. We have to have 3 feet of clearance in front. But then how wide do we need to go, right? Does it mean that like for a foot, or does it mean for like the entire wall? Like what is the width of that equipment? So we look at number 2 in 110.26A2, width of working space. The width of the working space in front of the electrical equipment shall be the width of the equipment or 30 inches, whichever is greater. So in almost all cases, you're gonna be going with 30 inches because most interior flush mount panels probably gonna be 14.5. You could have other things. You could have like actual commercial or industrial panel boards that are like 30 inches. But if you have something that's way bigger too, you have to use whatever the largest dimension is. So 30 inches might even be too small for some of the switch gear and some like bigger things that are gonna be like 6 feet wide. Whatever the biggest dimension is what you have to go with. So we have 3 feet of depth by 30 inches. That's kind of like a refrigerator, right? If you think of like, I need to keep a refrigerator size space in front of this panel clear, that's a good way of going about like understanding the dimensions of that space. Then the last thing is the height of the space. There's a certain clearance floor to ceiling that we have to have too, because it's not just that you have like this cube of space where you're working, it needs to extend down to the floor and it needs to extend up to a certain height as well. Height of working space, the working space shall be clear and extend from the grade, floor, or platform to a height of 6.5 feet. Refrigerator, right? Most refrigerators, I mean, maybe you're not 6.5 feet for a refrigerator, pretty damn close though, right? So that's why I use the refrigerator analogy. Or the height of the equipment, whichever is greater. So again, you might even have bigger equipment, taller equipment that has energized parts that might need servicing. You might have to work on something live. That's the other thing, is when we think about what they're talking about for equipment, it gives you the definition in A, and it says anything that has live energized parts 1,000 volts nominal or less to ground that requires examination, adjustment, servicing, or maintenance. Oh, the other thing too, which is really interesting to note, this doesn't relate here, but it says, within the height requirements of this section, the equipment or support structures such as concrete pads associated with the electrical installation and located above or below the electrical equipment shall be permitted to extend not more than 6 inches beyond the front of the electrical equipment. So if you have some kind of a pad or something down below you, it's allowed to protrude into that refrigerator space, but not more than 6 inches. So this thing violates all of them, right? We've got a water heater that is in the place a person should stand. And I think for me to fix this, I would take that panel and I would knock it through the wall and I would put an exterior panel on the outside. I'm curious if you guys would do something different, if you think there's like a better way to do it. Now, the second thing that needs to be talked about is the height of that panel. I didn't take a tape measure and actually get out and try to figure out where the highest handle is in there, but there is a code citation that I think is probably being violated. If I had to measure, I'm already gonna move the panel, so it doesn't really matter if I measure, but I just wanted to talk about the height because it is potentially a violation. So let's get into that. 4048A location. All switches and circuit breakers used as switches shall be located so that they can be operated from a readily accessible place. They shall be installed such that the center of the grip of the operating handle of the switch or circuit breaker when it is in its highest position is not more than 6'7" above the floor or working platform. And there are some exceptions that are allowed with that. But I think that 6'7", I don't know, man, it's really close. That panel may have a breaker that violates that. And you always have to go, regardless of if it's bottom fed, top fed, whatever, the highest handle that can be operated needs to be no more than 6'7". Those are my violations. That's just one thing. Again, I'm gonna do many, many other videos because like each one of these things is probably a 15, 20-minute conversation about code, what's wrong with it. There's gold. This job is gold. So anyways, I love you crazy people. Hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next one.